It's 2 a.m. and you're staring at the ceiling. Your phone is face down. Your room is dark. Your brain, for some reason, is wide awake. You start doing the math on how many hours of sleep you have left. You start telling yourself something is wrong with you. But the real answer is far stranger. For most of human history, waking up in the middle of the night wasn't a malfunction. It wasn't rare. It was the plan. Your body is not broken at 2 a.m. It's remembering something. Historian Roger Ekirch spent over a decade digging through old court records, diaries, and medical texts before he published his findings in 2001. He found something that should not have surprised anyone, and yet it surprised almost everyone. Before artificial light, people didn't sleep in one continuous block. They slept in two. The first sleep began shortly after dark. A few hours later, the body would surface, not in panic, not in a fog of anxiety about the workday ahead. People woke, and they simply lived for a while inside the night. They tended the fire. They talked quietly with a partner. Some prayed. Some had sex. Some walked to a neighbor's house to trade gossip by candlelight. Then, after an hour or two of this quiet middle world, they returned to bed for a second sleep that carried them to dawn. Think about that for a second. An entire civilization, for thousands of years, treated the middle of the night as usable time. Not wasted time, not broken time, just another room in the house of a day. So what changed? Light changed. Work changed. And somewhere in that shift, an entire species forgot how its own body used to work. The Industrial Revolution needed something biology never asked for. A single, unbroken block of sleep that could be scheduled, timed, and compressed to fit around a factory shift. Gas lamps and later electric bulbs made it possible to push bedtime later and later. Night stopped being a second half of waking life and became the enemy of productivity, a debt to be paid off in exactly 8 hours or you'd fall behind. The two-part night didn't disappear because it was unhealthy. It disappeared because it was inconvenient for machines. And here's where it gets stranger. You'd expect that if segmented sleep was the natural human pattern, we'd see it everywhere. Humans still live without electricity. So a team of researchers went looking. In 2015, sleep scientist Jerome Siegel led a study following 3 hunter-gatherer and pre-industrial societies that still lived largely without artificial light. The Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Simane of Bolivia. His team expected to find long, unbroken stretches of segmented sleep, the same first sleep, second sleep pattern Ekirch had uncovered in old European records. What they actually found was different, and it complicated the story even further. These groups slept in a single main block, roughly 6.5 to 7 hours a night, and they rarely napped. Insomnia, in the way we describe it and medicate it, barely existed as a complaint in these communities. So which is it? Segmented sleep or one solid block? The honest answer is both, depending on the century, the culture, and the season. What Siegel's research really revealed wasn't a single, correct ancestral pattern. It revealed that human sleep has always been flexible, shaped by light, temperature, and social rhythm rather than locked to a rigid schedule. The Hadza and the San didn't fall asleep at a fixed clock time. They fell asleep as temperature dropped hours after sunset and woke near dawn as it rose again. Darkness was a cue, not a deadline. Your ancestors, in other words, were never following a strict rule book. They were listening to their environment. You, lying awake at 2 a.m. under blackout curtains and a phone alarm set for 6, are trying to force a rigid schedule onto a system that was built for improvisation. There's a third piece to this, and it comes from anthropologist Carol Worthman, who spent years studying sleep across dozens of traditional cultures. She found something Western sleep medicine had almost entirely ignored. In most of the societies she studied, sleep was never a solitary, silent, sealed-off event. People slept near others. Fires stayed lit. Children woke and were soothed without anyone treating it as a crisis. Sleep was porous. It let the world in. Compare that to the modern sleep rulebook you've absorbed without ever agreeing to it. A dark room, total silence, no one else stirring. 8 hours, uninterrupted, or you failed. Worthman's research suggests that this version of good sleep isn't a biological universal at all. It's a fairly recent cultural invention, built for small nuclear families living in private rooms behind locked doors. A living arrangement that would have looked bizarre to almost every human who ever lived before the last few hundred years. So, when you wake at 2 a.m. and your chest tightens with the thought that you're failing at something as basic as sleep, you're reacting to a standard that has almost no precedent in human history. Your ancestors woke up too. They just didn't call it insomnia. They called it the middle of the night, and they used it. Here's the part that should actually change how you feel about those hours. In pre-industrial Europe, this waking window had a name in some records: the watch. It was a working part of the night, not a symptom. People used it to think. Diaries from the period describe it as a time when the mind felt unusually clear, almost meditative, freed from the demands of the daylight world. Some historians now believe this nightly gap may have functioned as a kind of built-in reflection period, a pause the body scheduled for itself long before anyone invented journaling or meditation apps to try to manufacture the same effect. Your brain tonight at 2 a.m. might be doing something old and useful, not something broken. It might be doing exactly what human brains did for most of the species' existence: surfacing, processing, waiting quietly before diving back under. The problem isn't that you woke up. The problem is what you do next. Modern life hands you a phone the second your eyes open in the dark. A screen at 2 a.m. floods your eyes with blue light that tells your brain it's dawn, which suppresses melatonin and makes the second sleep Ekirch documented far harder to reach. Your ancestors had firelight, dim and orange, or no light at all. You have a rectangle in your pocket broadcasting a signal that says wake up fully right now, and it works exactly as designed. That's not a personal failure. That's a mismatch between a very old body and a very new environment. So the next time you wake at 2 a.m., you have a choice your ancestors would recognize immediately. You can lie there, phone lit and anxious, treating the interruption as proof that something is wrong with you. Or you can treat it the way most of human history treated it, as a known, ordinary phase of the night. Keep the lights low. Let your mind wander instead of scroll. Trust that your body, like every human body before yours, knows how to find its way back down into sleep once it's ready, not on your app's schedule, but on its own. You are not failing at rest. You inherited a nervous system built across hundreds of thousands of years for a 2-part night, and you're trying to run it inside a world engineered for factory shifts and blue light. The gap between those two things is where your 2 a.m. anxiety actually lives, not in your biology and not in your willpower. It's 2 a.m. again, some other night, and you're staring at the ceiling. But this time, you know something your ancestors always knew, and you only just remembered. This hour isn't proof that you're broken. It's proof that you're exactly as human as everyone who came before you, quietly awake inside the second half of the night, waiting for sleep to come back around, the same way it always has.